This is the Michael Brighton Show. Hi everyone, welcome to the show, and I'm joined today by Jean Mouret, who is an Instagram influencer with millions of followers, and he is Explorer on Instagram. Jean, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me once again.
So one of the things that we didn't necessarily touch on in the previous episode, and those that are listening, I will put a link in the description to our previous chat. And what I ended our talk wanting to ask you was, do you feel the impact that you're making, meaning, you've got millions of followers on multiple different platforms. Do you get noticed on the street? Do you have people coming up to you wanting autographs or selfies? Like, what's that side of things like? Because a lot of people strive for the position that you're in, and yet when I picture influencer slash celebrity status, it's being noticed away from like work life, if you will, or being noticed on the street when you go in the shop or whatever the case is. So do you ever get that? Do you ever feel the impact that you're having?
That's a very, very good question. First off, I think there is different kinds of fame. I think many people get into fame either on purpose or by mistake or just as a result of their job, or they're really good or really bad, because you can become famous for both. As you know, just in those pictures, like those painters that like the Cristiano Ronaldo statue, it was so horrible and it became famous. So either way, you can get fame out of anything. But the point is, I think the outcome on how you react to that fame has a reaction based on what you were into in the first place. So, for example, I didn't jump on Instagram to get famous. I just did it to share my pictures, to stay in touch with my family. That's actually the first time. And later in life, I realized I could make money with it, but I didn't know that fame would come to play with it. Other than, say, an actor, when you get into acting and you land the job at Hollywood, you are in for the fame and other things. But it's very different when you jump on Instagram, because at least in my case, I didn't do it just for the likes or the fame. I did it out of my sore passion to travel and to share with people my experiences and how to lose fear when going places. Whereas, for example, some other influencers they don't have a true passion, but their only passion is to get famous. It's not like coming from the heart in reality. So let's say they're going to buy a really nice car and they're going to get a really hot girl with as little clothes as possible. And they're just going to shoot videos. That's like kind of a different end goal. They're just doing it for sort of the morbid side of the videos, because everybody knows shortcuts to get famous. Everybody knows it. Literally everybody knows it. It has to do everything with race, with where you were born and where you live, with which people you have access to. Even the breed of your dog makes an impact. Everything makes an impact. Why do you think Lassie and Beethoven and all these dogs got famous? I've never seen Creole dogs or stray dogs becoming famous. Everything has to do with this. So back to my point, I could shoot travel videos with super hot models and jumping out of planes and saying, for example, I'm going to jump blindfolded with my hands strapped on, and I'm going to unleash myself midway, and I'm going to land in the pool. Like, I could do that. But the point is, I don't like it. I'm not following the famous per se. I'm following what I like. And that, I think that's the mistake most people are doing nowadays on Instagram. If you ask me, if you ask most people, including Instagram employees, they would say Instagram is the ultimate expression of freedom. Like, you can put anything you want in there. But I completely digress. I think Instagram, even nowadays, is ruled by what you want, not what you want to show, but what you think is trending. I have seen many brands, not just people, but Fortune 500s, car factories, incredibly big websites, everybody jumping into trends that they don't necessarily believe in, like LGBTs, they're just jumping in just to be part of that audience. They're not doing it because they truly believe in the core of their beliefs. They do it just because, oh, it's June, it's LGBT months, like whatever. It's like it's not coming from the heart. And anyway, back to the point is, I don't like trends per se because they don't really make you show your uniqueness. I just rather do whatever is my passion. And if the likes follow, if the passion follows, if the money follows, that's an extra. But I think that's the real expression of Instagram. It's not true freedom. Actually, I think it's based on the freedom that trends are currently showing. So remember the ice bucket challenge. Remember I could tell you a dozen different challenges. The cap where the ninja kick where you take the cap off the lid of I mean, there's been tons of challenges, and you see tons of celebrities and even just regular people doing them. And I know they're doing it because they're trending and they're going to grow even more. That's totally fine. But I think that's actually against the ultimate expression of freedom, because it's you're stuck with doing whatever is trending, or you will not grow. Period. There's no other way. There's no other way. That's why Instagram released the function where you can hide likes. I think that's fine. But I'm so grateful that they give you the option now. Whereas before, you either had them or you didn't. And if you had really good engagement and you couldn't show your likes, that really was a shot in your foot, man. And similarly, if you had really bad engagement and you didn't want to show it, you couldn't because you were stuck in a specific location. You remember Instagram used to work based on location. If you lived in a specific country, you had more abilities to do Instagram with than other countries, just because of the pool selection where the Instagram beta form was in place. So it was kind of unfair. But now that they have this, it's a little more free in that sense, that people will worry less about the likes and they will actually do whatever they love. Now, don't get me wrong. There is a huge gap between doing what you love and something that will make you successful. Sometimes you do have to play with trends in order to catch up with that success. There's no other way to do it. But I think many people on Instagram are doing too much. They're just following the fame, and they're not doing things out of heart. And I could give you, again, many examples of people doing the same things. They're just different names. They're different people. Everybody's doing the same. So in my case, I've seen the pains of this because I'm not growing as much as before. I'm not getting as much engagement as before. I know the tricks. I know what I could do. I know the shortcuts I could do, but I don't want to be like everybody else, And now back to the question regarding fame. Whether I'm really famous or not, at least the people who know me for what I do. And that's all that I care for. I don't want to be the guy in the news like, that's the guy that jumped from a building with a naked girl. I don't want to be that guy. That's easy. Anybody could do it. They just need the resources. But trust me, that's easy. You could do a ton of highly illegal things for likes, and you would probably get in trouble for a couple of weeks, and then you'd be okay. Like this Vitalik guy, the guy that runs naked in football stadiums all the time.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Granted, he's fucking hilarious, excuse the language, but it's a really bad example. It's think about this. You have 22 football players going to the gym 3-4 hours a day, running 3-4 hours a day, having the match of their lifetimes. This is going to change their entire lives. And then this loser comes in and stops the match. Everybody's losing their like when you're heated up and you're ready to play, everybody's losing that momentum. 22 people are losing on their skills, their abilities on a 24/7 basis, just so one guy can become even more famous. And guess what? People are applauding him. So I think that's very selfish, man. And I think that's one of the downfalls of Instagram. It's setting more bad examples than good examples, and the audience, the general, audience is just applauding it. So that's just one of the downfalls.
It's interesting that you bring up trending going against freedom. It's almost like socially pressured jumping on the bandwagon, so to speak, but you feel
Yeah.
almost, I don't want to say obligated, it's the wrong word. You do feel pressured to
Yeah.
do it. And when you get the positive affirmation, whether it be likes or follows or whatever the case is, you want to keep doing that. And there was the whole story around becoming TikTok famous when that came out, and they unleashed
Yeah.
this habit of one post can make all the difference, and
Mm-hmm.
it builds this loop where people keep doing it. And
Yeah.
it's interesting that you bring up that it goes against freedom, which is supposedly what social media allows us to do, like creative expression, so to speak. It's
Yeah.
not actually creative if everyone keeps just following what everybody else does. But how does someone then start a trend? The person that starts it is basically doing the whole freedom element, but everybody else is kind of just copying, right?
Pretty much. Pretty much. I'd say that the only person who gets true freedom is the one who starts a trend, just as you said. Um, and most times we don't really get to know the one who started. If you ask me who started the Ice Bucket Challenge, I have no idea. But I could tell you 5 different actors that I saw on Instagram doing it. So I guess the owner of that challenge, the guy who started or girl who started, we can create them for the creativeness, but we don't know their names. At least I don't. And if I don't, probably many people don't. Um, so I mean, there's one for the other, but that's exactly what I'm trying to say. And this goes against I'm all up for speaking against the trends. I'm all for being the devil's advocate. I like discussing a very different viewpoint from what the stereotype is, from what the trending topic is. And this is something that probably nobody discusses. The true freedom of Instagram is not what everybody thinks. Actually, the opposite. Social media is hurting us more than ever. And with this, I'm not trying to demonize and say that we should close our phones or whatever. I'm saying we should have more creative freedom to do whatever we want with our accounts, as long as it's over 18 and things like that. But we should do anything we want without the penalties. I had, and I posted this on Facebook a couple days ago. I don't know if you noticed. So there was a U.S. senator a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago, posted a video hunting illegally an animal in his own state, and he posted a gore photo with blood, with the dead animal, still with the shots or something like the open wounds. Very graphic, if you ask me. Not Instagram content, unless you are an avid hunter, fan, and you follow hunting page or whatever. But this is a U.S. senator. It's very different. Anyway,
Yeah.
and his caption was a great day. That was his caption. I reported the photo because I'm against anything that is illegal. I reported the photo because I believe that, and this senator passed a bill against hunting. That's the worst part of it.
Oh, God.
I think it was a senator from Montana. I don't know. I don't even care. Anyway, I posted a picture of a duck in Italy, just floating in the water. And I mentioned that COVID, for a part-time last year, I don't know if you remember, got rid so much of pollution that eventually some animals got back into their originally natural habitats, just temporarily. Well, my photo got deleted because I was speaking regarding COVID, because my information apparently wasn't scientifically based, even though it's common sense. You get rid of toxicity, animals and nature flourishes again. That's common sense, but I guess Instagram doesn't use common sense. My photo was banned. And now when you go, it's not like let me give a throwback in history just really quick for the newbies. Way along in Instagram, you got copyright claims or somebody reported your content, and all you got was a notification on Instagram saying your photo was deleted, and they sent you the information via email with a screenshot of the photo. No links anymore. The photo is gone. They just send you a screenshot of the photo, The notes regarding the claim, whether it's the owner said, please take this picture down, or you got a trademark claim or whatever, or just Instagram said, we don't think this goes with our community guidelines. They always say community guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
There's no community, man. It's just an algorithm.
Yeah.
Actual reports are not measured by any human being. Nobody with flesh and bone. It's all AI. AI determines whether you're doing something good or wrong. So if we go back to the movies, remember this movie? I don't remember the name, but it was a movie where they arrest people based on a machine that predicts the future. So they arrest them in advance of murdering.
Ah.
I don't remember the name, but it's a really good movie, man. And anyway, the message from the movie is there's a prison full of suspectly in the future murderers, but nobody had done anything in that prison. They just thought of murdering, or they were going to, but they didn't. The point is they didn't. They caught them beforehand, or even before they knew they were going to do so. But the prison was this, and I think the movie is regarding this lawyer or this person who realizes it's against law to arrest someone for something they've never done. So this just shows the controversy. When should you stop soon to be murdered? Should you stop them before they give a murder? Before they commit murder, and arrest them, or give them some kind of habilitation to reinstate them in society. That's a huge other topic for another subject. But my point regarding this is Instagram is actually doing this. If you do something, whether it's good or bad, AI is judging you. It's not real people anymore. So guess what?
Right.
Yeah, it's fucking bad. it's that bad. So AI determines many things. Again, remember we discussed the algorithm. The algorithm is so much bigger than we can think of. And by the way, Instagram's videos, like the CEO of Instagram that has made a couple of videos explaining how the algorithm works, that's complete BS. Why would the CEO tell you the secrets to his company? He's just telling you the secret. He's just telling you what you want to hear.
Yeah.
It's like if you ask me, what's the secret for success or making a 7-figure business? I'm just going to give you the gist of it. I'm not going to tell the exact secret because I don't want you to replace me, right? Yeah. I don't want you to be my competitor. Nobody who tells you how to run a business will tell you how to run their business. They don't want you to become their competitors. So stop buying those courses. They will. Why would anybody give you their secrets? If I'm making $1 million a year, why would I sell a course for $35 if I'm making $1 million? Why would I give you the access to make $1 million for $500 or even $100,000? That's really cheap. If you're going to make $1 million, $100,000 is really cheap. If I'm going to sell a course on how to make $1 million, I'm going to price it for $1 million, period. Right? So anyway, I'm degrading a lot from my own plans. But back to that. Don't believe Instagram's algorithm videos because they're not telling you the exact thing. They're just telling you what the agenda is so that you want to stay in that. Remember, there's a lot of frustrated people in there. So every time somebody who's frustrated on Instagram goes and sees the video, says, oh, that's why the algorithm is not playing on my behalf because I need to show better content. Everybody knows it. They're just justifying themselves with how the algorithm was, but it's completely gone from the truth. The truth is, the algorithm is a lot bigger, and this AI that judges you keeps in mind a lot of things. So sexuality, the level of nudeness in a video, the level of gore, whether it's blood, there is dead beings, whether it's human or animal, whether there is drugs involved, whether there is violence. There is so many things. And you've seen these workarounds. I actually know a couple of nude photographers. They literally just scratch an arrow or just like a cross on nipples.
Yeah.
And that's enough so that the algorithm doesn't catch it up.
Huh.
Why do you think there is a lot of close to sexual content on Instagram that is not penalized? But there's kids that paint with their toes and Instagram thinks like it's some kind of fetish or whatever, and it gets down. Because it's AI, and we have to remember, in 2021, AI is still not perfect. And if you ask me, I don't think it will ever be that perfect. The moment it's perfect, AI is going to get rid of us, period. But how can we trust our own freedom if we choose not to go down the path of trends and we choose to do something original, if at the end we're going to be facing this wall that a machine is judging us, right? A machine is judging whether it's a male nipple or a female nipple. Because again, and this is another topic for a different day, but how does a machine differentiate a male nipple from a different nipple? How can a machine tell whether it's morally good or bad for a specific gender to show or not show anything? And I'm not saying anybody should or should not do so. Anybody can do whatever they want. I don't care. But again, how can a machine know?
Yeah.
Do you update software in a machine and say, now binary people have these new benefits on Instagram? How do you update AI so that you know what things to allow? U.S. senators can now kill animals freely on Instagram. Now, new AI. How can we be certain that our creative freedom will be legally respected if it's AI? And second, guess what? When you submit a review on a claim, AI prejudges the same thing. Why the world, man? So again, I'm speaking from the process of how to create your own dream job and land the ideal follower size on Instagram in order to get fame or just to get your work recognized, whatever you want to do. But again, regardless of what you pick, how true is this freedom in reality? That's a really good question. I'm not going to blame them in the sense that 1 billion and something users is probably 1 million reports a day, probably 1 million. I understand there's no imaginary force in the entire world to have a team to review 1 million claims. I know they have to have AI in place in order to make it efficient. I know.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we have so much content. I would say, if you ask me, I would say the amount of people on Instagram already surpassed Instagram's ability to sort them. If you ask me, there's too many. There's already too many. If you asked me a year ago, 2 years ago, when you asked me, hey, do you think it's still enough space to make a living on Instagram, to start from scratch? If we started from 0 followers right now, I would have said yes. I would still say yes, but I would say it's not about competition anymore. You're competing against the platform. You're competing against AI. I know tons of people who have really amazing content that have 5 likes because there is no nudity involved, because there is no gore involved, because there is no morbidity involved. So there's workarounds. When you know AI and when you know how it works, you can overcome it. I have seen literally videos where you can you can censor blood, you can censor violence, things like that, but you can still post a video. I mentioned you can still censor nipples in some ways. You can put emojis on the nipples, you can cross the nipples, and AI won't even detect them. You can even overcome the AI where you can find copyright claims for music. If you speed up the music, the AI will not recognize it. If you slow down the music, or if you talk over the music enough so that the AI doesn't pick it up because it's just like Shazam or one of these programs.
Yeah.
Shazam doesn't listen to the music; it listens to a code behind the music that they match to their database. Oh, it's this song. They don't recognize it based on the pace of the song or whatever. No, there's a code behind it. So there's a lot of workarounds on Instagram. That's where I think the true creative freedom comes into place. How to do whatever you want and overcome the AI so that you can still post whatever you want. I think I don't remember who it was, but there was this guy that posted his buttocks on Instagram. and he was like, I have the right to post my buttocks because it's literally just an ass. It's not even showing the full ass or genitals. It's just like the top portion of the buttocks where you see a line. And this guy was like, if Instagram takes down this photo, then we're in real creative trouble because I can't even post my own skin, But we always find workarounds. So it just goes to say, how much can they truly do to commit to not showing um, content that is not necessarily morally okay, versus how can we, have to create freedom where maybe we can show a little bit of everything, but because it's for scientific purposes or for art, maybe they should do exceptions. But we need to interact with human beings. AI will not understand, hey, I'm a nude artist, this is not porn, this is nudity. The models, where there's male or female, they agreed upon this, and my Instagram is private, so anybody who wants to follow me, I have to pre-approve and make sure they're over 18. So I'm doing everything pretty much formally. AI will not understand it. AI is logarithmically based. Yes, no. If yes, then yes. If no, then no. Period. How can we truly fight for our true creative freedom if we have AI in place? That's the question. And that's just the thing. Instagram is not as advanced as we'd like to think when it comes to decision making, when it comes to judging content. But
I'd be curious about the massive amounts of impact that, let's just say, algorithms that have to scale up philosophical arguments. So this or that, this or that, this or that. What about this? What about that? The whole sort of do we kill 3 people to save 5 argument and things of that nature. And it's a moral argument where everyone's going to be different.
right.
These algorithms are programmed by humans that have their own opinions on what's right and what's wrong and what's best and what's not. And
Exactly.
from like me talking to you, that's fine. It's on a one-to-one basis, that is fine. That works. You could scale that up just between us two.
Yeah.
So 500 conversations later, 10 million conversations later, between me and you, we can scale that up because we don't change. Or when we do change, we can update our algorithm as a person, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about millions of people all having to get along, and we're being programmed and manipulated in some ways by people that are telling us what to do and what not to do. And all of it is a philosophical and moral argument, and no one's going to agree.
Exactly. Exactly. You said a really good point. Something that I hadn't thought of. AI is machined on the engineer's personal beliefs. That's an amazing thought. It's not truly AI. It's more like pre-assembled coding based on a person's thoughts. So it's not truly AI. It's not making decisions based on news. And you get a great example. Would you kill people in order to save 5? 3 people to save 5. Like when they ask you this psychological question: if your house is burning down and your mom is in one room and dad is in the other, and which one do you say? I'm like, man, I don't like those questions.
No, I don't. And the whole thing is different when you have to kill 3 people with a knife to save 5 versus press a button on the other side of the planet to kill 3 people from you're on the opposite side of the planet to where the people are. You press a button, 3 people die to save 5. That argument changes again. I would not like to kill anybody with a knife, never mind 3 to save 5, but pressing a button on the other side of the planet where I probably don't have to live with the consequences of that feels different. Would I still do it? I'd still probably would still just walk away from the console and not press the button. But there are people out there that it does change the argument and how you feel about the situation. And unfortunately, we're in a world where that is programmed by an algorithm, by an AI, which is programmed or engineered by the engineer. It's not. It isn't an algorithm anymore, is it? It's the person behind the algorithm. Because someone has to give this thing the rules. Someone has to give this thing the parameters to operate in. And I
exactly.
think that is part of the problem. Is that every single level, the problem is a human problem, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, even AI, if it turns out in 100 years to be more smart and efficient than us, even that will be our own making, our own doing. If it happens like something like Matrix and AI finishes mankind, that's our own doing because we created AI in the first place. Um, Now let's step back a second and apply this AI into Instagram content. How can AI know whether something is good or bad? For example, I am a dog advocate, you know that. I love advocating for animals. I love fairness and equality to all animals. I'm not going as far as being vegan and everything. I'm just against unreasonable, violence or unnecessary use of violence for animals. So, for example, I like meat. I don't like the process in which meat is done, but I would rather have a cow dying in a more humane way, if that's sort of thing. Uh, Again, I want to eat. I know my personal eating habits. I would prefer the animal to suffer less. Period.
Yeah.
But now, um, how can Instagram understand it? How can the AI understand it? Whereas it comes to other animals, if I'm cooking a cow, I'm cooking, just some raw meat. How can Instagram know where that meat is coming from? Uh, it's going to be a lot of years until they are truly that smart. And again, let's apply the same process to another example. Um, if I'm petting a cow or I'm petting a dog, can the AI determine which animal is more morally inclined to be better to be off with humans? Obviously, we as humans know that dogs have a better history of coping with humans. We domesticated dogs long before anybody else. We would rather eat a cow during winter than a dog. At least I'd hope so. But again, this AI is applied based on a person's belief. What's better, a cow or a dog? AI will make the decision based on the engineer that maybe he comes from a certain culture where cows are super important. So he'll determine that dogs are more expendable. And again, I'm not in favor or against anything. This is just an example because some people, oh, you hate dogs, and hate, and no, there's just examples. Just examples, man. Calm down. um, yeah, yeah, man. People criticize a lot, and since I'm a huge advocate for animals, I'm not going to lie. I have a specific preference for dogs just because I'm so in love with them. My two dogs are just lying over there in the background. Um, I help dogs. I love helping dogs. And why do I do that? Because it's one of the most populated um, like things in the world that are not getting enough help. They're one of the most popular animals in the world, and in more countries than not, they're being abused. You could say many Eastern countries, Asian countries, animals barely have any rights, especially dogs and cats. Whereas in the Western, uh, we're more familiar with respecting them. Um, so I follow a lot of dog shelters and dog rescue places. Obviously, there's a lot of violence and gore and blood involved. You have no idea, man. I don't even want to start the details on it. Say you have a dog foundation. You rescue dogs. You rescue herd dogs from the streets or from highways. How can you post videos of the hurt dogs on Instagram without getting penalized? You didn't hurt them. Are just posting the case studies because you want people to show what you're going through because you need donations in order to support your 1,000 dogs. How the F can the AI know whether you caused that or you're rescuing that? It's impossible. You need to talk to an actual human being. Said, can you flag my account so that they know that I'm a dog's rescue shelter and that I'm posting gory content because that's the state in which I find the dogs and I bring them into nurturing during the process. They don't. They can't. Unless they assign a specific human being to every other human being, which is logically impossible, it's never going to happen. So you have the true creative freedom. Say, maybe you're a millionaire or you don't have anything else to do or your life's purpose is just to help dogs. You don't have a job, you sell all your material goods and you dedicate and purpose all your 24/7 time, everything just into your dog shelter. You need donations. You need to jump on Instagram, and then Instagram takes down your passion, which is to help us, just because AI made a decision. That's just a really rough example. Say you're a firefighter. Say you're a policeman. Uh, Anything that involves, again, sex, violence, maybe, I don't know, maybe even drugs. I don't know, but we'll have to find a specific example regarding that. But again, how can AI determine your success? Literally, how can the AI determine whether a dog shelter with over 1,000 puppies be worth saving or not? I think that's stupid, and I think people should have the voice to make a change. Okay, I understand if AI flags your account, but you have the right to appeal with a human being.
Yeah.
That's my point. You would have to have the right to defend yourself. Like when you get arrested and you get a lawyer, you need to have that right, just to give your opinion, just for the sake of having two sides. Um, but again, true creative freedom will not happen until we solve this, and true creative freedom will not happen until we realize, even if you have 1 million followers, even if, and this is my example, I probably know now over 1,000 people with 1 million followers. I'm not that special. I'm not that special. And I can probably tell you 10,000 other travel influencers with as equals or better engagement than me. So it comes to showing the end, you're truly not that special. It's like the Fight Club singer says you're not special. You really aren't. So if you're going to be the same guy doing the ice bucket challenge and you get 100,000 likes, I guarantee there's 100 other people with the same engagement, as famous or more than you, doing the same thing. Why not just do something different? You're already big. Why do you need to grow even bigger? Grow big because of your positive influence on people. Don't just grow bigger just for the sake of that. Don't just start another Fast and Furious movie just because they're so successful. Man, they're number 10. Come on already. Come on. That should have stopped like 5 movies ago. Seriously. I'm sorry. I love Paul Walker. I love Mindy. I love everybody in that movie. I even know a couple of people this personally. But guess what? People need to understand when it's time to let things go. People need to Netflix needs to understand when this series should have already finished. We don't need a part B. We don't need the comeback. We don't need the reunion, friends. We don't need it. It's done for. Seriously. So that's my point. People sometimes get too greedy, and greed kills authenticity. Greed kills creativity. I know tons of people who have amazing content, and I'm going to be upward. They couldn't do it if they didn't have money. I know a lot of people have amazing bodies, and they're using testosterone. There's nothing wrong with that. If you tell people, hey, I can sell you the idea of becoming this person, but I'll just let you know, I use this and that to get here. I didn't just eat chicken and broccoli. As long as you're transparent with whatever you're doing, you can do whatever you're doing. But this is the problem. People get too greedy. The Rock says he doesn't use steroids because he's the most steroid-heavy user in the world. And he's giving people the idea that you can become a hero just by doing that. So that's the problem. Greed, contracts, behind the curtain things that we don't know. There's this case study of this Indian. I'm sorry, I'm just being racist here. I'm guessing he's Indian, but I don't know. This guy that was like a nerd. Like I'll give you the name later on when I find it. And he went from the nerdy dadbot kind of guy to a superhuman, and he's now fighting crime in movies and whatever. And it was like a real human being with a real body. And everybody's guesses on YouTube, all these fitness influencers and doctors speculating this guy's probably jumped into steroids. And he, obviously, when you get into a movie on that level, guess what? You're going to sign contracts, and probably within that contract is you're going to have a personal physician, and the terms in which we get you to your ideal body for that film, you cannot discuss that, or guess what? You're going to be banned from Hollywood forever. So now this comes to the next question: where does that greed come from? Maybe it's not the actor. was not willing to. Maybe it's the directors who don't want them to, because the producers won't let them, because the film agencies won't let them. So where does this end? You know, going back to Instagram, you're being fed a lot of shit because people are greedy. Buy my protein, buy my powder, buy my creatine, buy my things so you can become like me. By the way, I don't use my products. People, I could probably, if I gave you the, if we analyze together, we sat down and analyzed 100 products from 100 celebrities, how many would you find that celebrities actually use them? One? Maybe five? Man, The Rock, I'm sorry, The Rock, I love this man. He's making tequila. He's not even Mexican. He's Samoan. At least Conor McGregor is sticking to whiskey. Jesus. I get it. I could make vodka. I'm not Russian. But guess what? I live there. I have a sense of a culture. I don't know if The Rock's lived in Mexico. If he did, please tell me so. But, and this is kind of like taking away culture for profit. He's selling tequila because tequila is very profitable. If there was a Samoan drink that was equally as profitable, he would be focusing on it. Trust me, he would. He's selling tequila because tequila is profitable. He's doing it out of greed, not because he loved Mexicans so much. Not because of that. There is, God, I won't mention this specific one because this celebrity follows me. but there is tons of celebrities that now they have their own alcohol brands. They don't know F about alcohol. They don't know F about any other business than their own entrepreneurship, which is artistry. That's fine. I'm not saying if you're good at this, then you don't have the right to test out anything new in life. But don't just go and start other things just because, hey, make tequila. There's the business. Nowadays, well, not nowadays, since time-old U.S. presidents, people found out that the secret to continuing success once you're an actor or a football star, you have to remember, when you're a football star, you have a usable period of time where you can be active. And until that time, you have to retire, and then everything is over. Now you have two choices. You become a director instead of an actor, or you become a football coach. But the other new thing is politics. Hey, you're very famous. Why not jump into politics? Schwarzenegger did it. This president who first was an actor and then jumped into politics did it. Why? Because they like greed. They like staying with that level of influence. And politics, there's a lot of money involved. And sometimes people would rather vote for someone who's already famous because they look good in a movie. Don't get me started with these examples in Mexico. We had this voting season a couple of weeks ago. Miss Mexico was one of the candidates. We had like 3 different TV actors. We had like 5 different actors. We had like 3 models. All of this part of politics involved in being state governors. Not municipality, not locally, on a state level. Imagine that. And guess what? Some of them won. Some of them even won. So again, it just goes, how all of these arises just from your one and only question in the interview. Creative freedom based on how famous you want to become. But this happens as well. What will happen to Cristiano Ronaldo when he's not allowed to play anymore because there's rules? He's so fit, I would bet he can play up to age 60. I don't doubt it. Will they let him? No, because there's rules. FIFA imposes rules. Everybody has to stick to them. So he will either become a football coach or a politician. We'll have this conversation again in 20 years and we'll see. Trust me.
This does actually speak to being known for something. So, when you say you're well known for the ice bucket challenge or you're well known for doing crazy things out of planes, but Is it a counter to the whole greed aspect when you're, how can I put it? Like, if it's for a business and you want to be known for your thing rather than just having fun on Instagram and just so happen to pick up followers as you go,
Yeah.
is that not one of the characteristics of being greedy as well, because you're being hyper focused around what it is that you want, and you clearly want more of it. You know, I'm not just speaking to yourself, but like just generally, right? Like you want to get something out of being on the platform, and that's why you grow, right?
Yeah.
Versus the weirdo, the little goof that runs around doing crazy things, and everyone seems to like the fact that he does those weird and crazy, wonderful stuff.
Right.
how how do you make the distinctions then? How do you justify doing things for specific reasons, wanting to get more out of it, if you were
Hmm.
more of that thing, right?
Yeah.
Um, that
Hmm.
could be an element of greed as well, but then greed and wanting more seem different in my mind as well. You know, you're allowed to
Hmm.
want more, but then how do you make the judgment call yourself in terms of why they're doing the thing and trying to boil it down to greed to a certain extent?
That's a really great question. How do we separate greed from just hunger, right? Say, for example, Usain Bolt, waking up 4 a.m., running, I don't know, 50 miles a day. We could associate, oh, maybe he's too greedy. He wants to overcome everything in the Olympics. That's great, right? Well, no, because again, greed is the authenticity killer, right? We know that because it's not coming out of heart. Now, how do we separate greed from just hunger for success? The first thing is, I think greed starts when you start hiding facts. That's the number one thing. When you hide facts, maybe Usain Bolt uh, can run these 50 miles and he gets a documentary done, but nobody knows that in reality he's using a very special kind of shoes, like these futuristic shoes with magnets or whatever. I don't know. I'm just inventing some here. And he's making that effort with less the amount of calories or whatever, right? I think that's when it starts a publicity stunt and that becomes greed. So I think what differentiates greed from hunger is how transparent you are with whatever you're doing. Second of all, if it's congruent with your career. So this comes to honesty, uh, to your own personal core. For example, um, if somebody on Instagram says, "I'll pay you $100,000 if you do the ice and bucket challenge," and I say yes, I'm $100,000 richer. Maybe I'll get 10,000 likes on that post, but I sold myself, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. It at the end of the day, it's personal. I sold myself. But guess what? It's on me. It's going to be my burden when I die. Like, oh man, I was one of those guys. I sold myself. For example, nowadays you see many actors getting roles in really bad movies. Why? Because there is the only movies available, or because they pay them a lot of money, and even the actors don't look happy in those movies. But guess what? They pay a lot of money. So it comes down to your core. Do you believe in what they're paying you for? If yes, it's honest. If not, it's great. That's the second thing that separates things. And the third thing um, is it going to be a benefit for anybody? Maybe you have a course on how to make courses, right? Something simple for the sake of examples. Maybe down inside you are very naive and you stupidly believe that your course is good, right? And you're selling it for a lot of money and whatever. But is it making people results? Are you changing people's lives? Yes? No, for the good or for the bad. Are you a hero in a movie? Are children going to be jumping into the gym because they want to look like you in 5 years? That's good. But if you're selling them, and this is not just for boys, it applies mostly for girls, unattainable things through unattainable products, because celebrities are endorsed. So again, back to your question, how do you separate greed from authenticity? Are you honest about the process? Is it consistent with your career, and is it helping other people? That's the three questions. Now, let me apply that into my own case. Um, am I going to countries that I don't believe in because they're bad with animals? No, I'm not going to those countries because I stand behind my core. Second, am I promoting anything that I don't believe in? No. I promoted, 3 years ago, I promoted a fitness program from a coach, and I was stupid, I was naive, and it turns out the cases were fake. And the real people, yeah, this was my bad. I got in a lot of trouble, but I apologized public and everything. Just goes down to you need to do your homework. And I'm very open to this because, again, I'm up for transparency. I posted this case study. It was real people, but it was not the coach, the fitness program's result. It was different results from different people. And the actual people were tagging the photo. Hey, whatever, girl, they're using your face. And this girl says, hey, this is me. Please take this down. I did take it down, and I wrote it personally. I'm sorry, I got paid to do this. I should have done my research. Please accept my apologies. Period. And that's okay. She said, that's okay. No worries. Just make sure to research next time. And guess what? She was right. So I had another fitness coach paying me a couple of weeks ago to post his fitness program. But guess what? I interviewed him this time. I said, I'm going to promote your product, but show me what you've done. And he did. And I told him, okay, I need to mention the Instagram handle of your own clients because I don't want to get in trouble, and I want people to see that these are real people. And more importantly, I want to see myself that these are real people and that they achieve the results you're selling them. And they did. So we went through because I got transparency, and I showed my audience, look, yes, this is an ad, but guess what? It's an honest ad, unlike most ads you will find on Instagram. It's an honest ad. This is the fitness trainer I'm promoting. This is a client he promoted. This is the time frame he achieved this body in 6 months. This is a picture on his scale with the newspaper on his hand. It's as transparent as possible, right? And that's when it comes down to how transparent I've become. And trust me, when you become transparent, when you play by the rules, you will not get as famous as quickly as other people. But at least you will be famous for one thing, and that is being your true self. I can tell you many people who have 100 times more money, 100 times more followers than me, and I guarantee you they don't sleep properly. They don't sleep well. They have 10 cameras installed in front of their porches because they know they didn't do something legal. Or they'll die regretting that they did something immoral. Or these things. And you have to ask, can you buy back your integrity? Can you buy back your consistency? Can you buy back your honor, if you want to call it that way? No, you can't. Most cases you can. You can give back to society. You can donate a lot of money, but people still will know you. Say the Clintons. People will still know you for what you did at some point. Even if it was 20 years ago, people will remember it. So is it worth that much? Is it worth getting into that movie just because you were offered a role? So I would like to applaud people that say no to opportunities just because they don't align to their beliefs. That's fine as well. You know, you have the right not to take on something just because there's a lot of money involved. Sometimes your honor is worth more than that. But guess what? Most people nowadays, they don't have honor. They just want a clout. They just want likes. They just want Ferraris. They just want girls. Because we're a society that is not built on honor anymore. We're built on quick pleasures, on making money fast, and retiring on a private island. That's our mentality nowadays.
Yeah.
And if that's you, that's fine. You are original. But when there's a million other people like you doing the exact same thing, you don't become original anymore. It's like the saying, if you're so special and everybody's so special, then you're not so special anymore. If everybody's special, then nobody's special. That makes sense. It becomes a standard already. So for the sake of ending this point, this question, this question took an hour, man. And this is the first time I had this happen. I would say, unless fame is your only and true purpose, then do whatever you want. But if that's not the case, don't follow the money, don't follow the content, follow what your passion is and stick to the honor that goes along with it. uh, don't don't make people less than what they are just for the sake of a video on this. I've seen tons of people doing this, man. Don't make fun of other people for your own benefit. Unless you're a comedian and the other person is also benefiting from this, then that's a different case. Again, I'm not AI.
Yeah,
I can determine whether something is good or bad based on inputs,
yeah.
based on suggestions. AI can't. That's why AI is stupid, at least now. It's not ready. And until then, we're stuck. We're being as creative as we can and just hoping that Instagram will not punish us for it. That's it.
That was one of the things that really stuck out from our previous chat as well. This idea of integrity. Honor is a pretty adept word for it, it's pretty relevant. It's definitely something that came across in our last chat as well around, you always try to do the extra 1%. You're shooting for that 1%, that thing that makes all the difference, between playing influencer, if you will,
Yeah.
or doing commercials for Lamborghini or whatever
Yeah.
the case is. That was something that I know I watched before our first chat. So
Yeah.
it's definitely taken on a whole new meaning around being influential and doing it the right way, and
Yeah.
making sure that you sleep well at night. So this is something
Mhm.
that occurs to a lot of people at different levels. And it's
Yeah.
interesting that you bring it up, because I was going to mention it as well, is I feel it, well, I felt it when I first started in business, and we're going back about 10 years. When I very first started,
Yeah.
didn't want to do certain things because they didn't feel right. I put it down to a feeling, right? It was something
Yeah.
that didn't feel right, didn't feel good, didn't feel, I guess, transparent or authentic to who I was as a human. And I thought it's just not right for me right now. So I can't do it. And this was everything from getting involved with companies that wanted me to be an affiliate or a network marketer for their brands, all the way through to
Mhm.
like today, right? When people want to support the podcast and all those kinds of things. And it's weird because sometimes it's the only way to make decisions. And I know you can speak to this. You've got 500 opportunities, you've only got the time to do five.
Yeah.
Going to do what fits best. You're going to do the five that are truest to you within your integrity, and you're going to have to, unfortunately, say no to the 495 because you don't have the time, and you would rather dedicate your time to the thing
Yeah.
the best fit for you. Not
Mhm.
every person is in that position, but it's
Yeah.
interesting. This is where I want to ask you about this. Is there are people that still just say yes to everything despite their level of influence, or despite their level of opportunity that they can have. They're still doing things that you would probably consider out of integrity or dishonorable or whatever it is. When did that feeling of pressure to do the right thing, just from yourself, pressure on yourself to do the right thing, when
Yeah.
did that start for you?
Um, it happens a lot with modeling. Uh, there is a lot of racism involved in person to person, face to face meetings. And I come from a country where you're prejudged on anything within the 5-second window of introduction. Um, the root of this is not necessarily evil. We're just ingrained to know whether we're wasting our time or not with people. If you sell luxury cars, you can't just said you can't afford to have 500 people come in your shop and wondering which one has money or not. You have to have, I guess, does he look rich? Maybe not apparently in clothing, but does he look rich? Maybe mentally he looks like financially capable. But again, I come from a country where they don't go as far. If you look rich physically, You don't need to look rich here. They'll just open the door for you. They'll give you the keys. Um, you could be wearing sandals and shorts, and they won't let you in. But you maybe have 1 million followers in crypto, whatever. I mean, follow $1 million in crypto, whatever it is, man. But I come from a country where you're prejudged so fast, mostly because many people are time wasters. I'm not going to deny that. Um, but we come from this side that we only have so limited amount of time, and we have to think: is this person worth the time? Should I invest more? Like dating, should I put in more time or not? Oh, this is a quick giveaway that this is going to work. This quick giveaway that is not going to work. So I don't think the root of prejudging is necessarily bad, especially because biologically speaking, we have these from millions of years ago when we had to make 5-second decisions. What is that sound? Is that a tiger coming towards me? Should I run or not? Hey, that guy looks dangerous. Why is he coming with a spear in his hand towards me? Should I make a decision or not? Prejudging is biologically pre-planned by nature. We cannot do anything in that. If I come to you with a knife running towards you, what do you think you're gonna do? You're gonna run. And I'm gonna, hey, why are you holding that knife? I'm not gonna be doing that. There's nothing wrong with that exactly. If you have to use makeup or you have to dress up for a meeting, is again, and when it comes to AI, is that necessarily cheating or something? It depends on the person. There is no right or wrong answer nowadays. But going back to your question, how did this happen to me? I grew up in a country where I just learned I had to dress up a little more sharper just than the next guy. I just had to have my resume a little bit longer than the next guy. I just had to have a few more contacts than the other guy. I had to wear a little brighter colors just than the next guy. Because guess what? And this is an example I give a lot. If you have a degree from Harvard, and the next guy also has a degree from Harvard, and you have the exact same age, and you live in the exact same neighborhood, and everything looks the same. You both have the exact degree of abilities, and you're running for the same position, but you play golf and the other guy doesn't. You're game, because the boss plays golf. Sometimes it's not their skills, it's the tiny details that come along.
Yeah.
If you're wearing the same pinstripe suit as the guy interviewing you, he's probably go for you just because you're associating with him. If you guys went to the same school, if maybe you dated the person with the same last name, even the tiniest details will make them more relatable. And this is when I got to understand you have to make these quick decisions, but again, without lying, because again, that's not authentic anymore. That's not transparent. You're taking the other job from the other guy out of greed. So it started with me in modeling, where there's many places where you have to knock on doors, and they give you extra temporary favors to run. Where you say, what does this have to do with my career? Absolutely nothing. Why do I have to run errands for this person? Absolutely nothing. I'm at this level. I shouldn't run errands for anybody, at least unless I decide to. So I think everybody faces this at some point. And I think it plays a role in everything, in gender, in what country you were born, in what passport you're holding, everything. Even you, for example, maybe we have the same degree of everything or whatever, but we knock the door on a specific business and they say, hey, but your passport is better than this guy. Period. I'm done for. And so it's a lot of decisions to be making, but as long as you're consistent with that and you're transparent, you should be good, man.
What's the funniest thing you've ever been asked to do?
Oh man, funny depends on the quality of funny. Funny as in giving me a funny feeling of, oh man, I don't want to do this. Like when I was shooting this commercial video for a parachute company, and guess what? I had to jump from a plane to have the video completed. That was the funny feeling of, oh man, can't believe I'm doing this. I wish I was jumping out of a personal goal rather than being paid. I was paid for jumping out of a plane. Most people pay to jump out of planes. It was funny in the sense that I was, when you are in a position like, oh my God, I'm strapped into another guy behind my back. I don't have a seatbelt on. I'm on a plane and the door is open and it's like -5 degrees, it's like Celsius. It's really cold up there, like 5,000 feet up in the air, probably more. No, 17,000 feet up in the air.
Wow.
That's like 3 kilometers, 5 kilometers, something like that. It's 30 degrees Celsius where you land, at the floor level, and it's -5, probably even -10 as you keep going. It's only for a minute, so let's say it's bearable because it's only going to last so much. But it's unbearable at the same time because you go from 30 degrees to -10, and when you're at 30, you're wearing a t-shirt. And you're at -10, wear a t-shirt. It's only for a minute. It's only for a minute. And the fight or flight behavior that you get when the lion is running towards you and you need to run and adrenaline kicks in, the same kicks in when you're in that plane. I have to jump so I end this feeling of cold. I have to jump so that I overcome this level of stress. I have to jump. And the other side is the level of shame if they land the plane with you on it is never ending. Because you're going to have a flock of people applauding of you, making fun of you, where you say, oh, people shouldn't make fun of them. Well, it doesn't matter. They do make fun of you if you do that. Like when you step out of a roller coaster because you didn't want to go in. That's the same example. When you get off a plane, from with a plane because you didn't want to jump, well, everybody will remember. Well, they'll call you chicken for it if you want to say that. So that was a really funny experience. I wanted to do it, but the thing that made me the most want to jump is the kid in front of me was 7 years old. I'm like, if he can do it, I can do it, man.
You're pressured by a 7-year-old. I'm jumping.
Yeah. You haven't?
Oh, I've never. No, I'm afraid of heights and falling. So it kind of that's my worst case scenario is being in a plane that I have to jump out of. It's almost like the shame of not jumping is less than the fear of jumping and falling.
Right.
So I would live with some of the, oh, he didn't jump. I'd be able to live with that. I'd be like, yes. But like actually jumping and fall, like I couldn't. I would rather have the social
pressure
and guilt. I'd rather feel guilty and shameful about 2 weeks than the panic for about 20 seconds or so by the time you hit the floor. But yeah, I really couldn't. I wouldn't even go up in the plane. I'd be like, I don't do planes. If you want to pay me to like pretend, then we can do that. But I'm not getting up in the plane.
Well, if you're in the plane already attached to somebody, I guess that you already had the initiative and you only have the other 50% of convincing yourself left to do. I don't know. But say for example, they paid me to do it. Would I have done it on my own sense just for the certificate? Probably, but not during that time. It would have been under my own terms,
Yeah.
But and if you did it, it would be the time when you cope with your own fear and you do it on your own terms. But say, would you jump off a plane to land your dream podcast with the most influential person in history, Jesus, Gandhi, Hitler, Michael Jackson, whomever? Would you jump from a plane to be able to afford that interview?
Probably
the dream interview.
Because I think fear of death would take over. That'd be sort of. I mean, like if the guy jumped out and I was strapped to his back, I'm out of control. Then I'd probably hate that even more. I hate being out of control. That's what it's the worst possible scenario you could put me in. I've got to jump. The other guy's going to jump, so you're strapped to him. You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Combined with all the fear of heights and flying and falling, I just. The worst possible scenario to put me in, but I've got family. I've done it. I've got family that have jumped out of planes, and I go, I must be the weird one then, because how you're okay with that, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Must be the odd sheep in the family if I'm the one that's like, no, not doing it. Don't even try to get me on there. I will probably fight you beforehand. Not getting on that plane. So
I mean, that's fine. It doesn't have to be for everybody. But the good thing about jumping off a plane, just to finish up this question, is once you're strapped to the person, when they raise you, you're in the front of the person. They have to lift up your body weight in order to walk to the end, line right when you're about to jump. Obviously, if the tandem instructor isn't too strong or you're too big for them, you will have to be, because it's a small plane. It's like 4 feet tall, so you can't really walk in there. You have to kind of crawl to move within the plane. So when you have to crawl, you have to walk like as a sumo when you're the instructor with the person attached.
Picturing it as a judo match between me and the instructor. He's trying to get me to jump out of the plane. I'm trying to stay on the plane. It'll turn into a fully fledged judo middle of the plane. I'm not going. You are going. Start wrestling me to the floor and all that sort of stuff. But no, that would make sense actually, because they have to be comfortable in themselves. The person they're jumping out the plane with is bigger than them. They lose control, but they're to be in control.
That's when accidents happen. When the person, the goal of a tandem instructor is kind of like a bartender. You're not just giving a product. You have to understand the person and calm them down, and you know that. Accidents when parachuting come when there's a combination of both the tandem instructor not coming enough the person, but also the person having an extreme fear. Not your fear. I think your fear is overcomable if you work on it. I'm not saying do it. I'm just saying maybe you can work on it. But there's people to the degree they will break the instructor's neck mid-air. Literally, it's to an extreme, more extreme than your extreme. It's a totally different extreme. Total fear. It's completely different. But the good thing about that, and instructors know, they have to fight off your rejections.
Yeah.
Right there. So what they tell you is, if you're smaller than the tandem guy, you will literally hang on from the strap. They will walk with your body weight on. And remember, the G forces are higher. They have to be really strong because they're lifting your own body plus fighting the forces within the plane.
Yeah.
So they lift you up, and the instruction is you have to grab yourself from your own strap. They do this for 2 reasons. First of all, so you don't hang from the plane last minute and you hang on to something, to a wire or whatever. And the second of all, because there are certain straps where you can literally choke the instructor if you pull from the wrong strap. That's when accidents happen. So, but the benefit from this is your only instruction is to hang to yourself. And your feet are lifting like this. So you are weightless for a moment. You're not touching anything. You're not even touching the floor, meaning that if you hold on to this, you can't fight off the instructor jumping from the plane. That's why they physiologically, but also mentally prepare you to jump this way, because they get rid of all the fears and the reactions. You cannot do anything anymore. And they tell you, look, if you don't follow this, we're going to get hurt, both you and myself. So just follow the steps. There's people that jump from planes, and instead of hanging here, they lift up their arms immediately. And guess what? At the speed at which you're going at the first minute, you hit the instructor like this, you knocked him out. just for lifting your hands, you knocked him out. Nobody's gonna save you anymore.
It's the G forces and the wind and everything.
Yeah, it's too strong at first. That's why they tell you just grab yourself from here. But if you overdo, they tell you. I'm just going to give a really quick instruction: is when they tap on your shoulder like this, it means you can let go.
Right.
But it's only once they get in control of your body weight as a team and they get the hand of it. Because most times you end up jumping and spitting whatever. First, they have to level it up and stabilize, and then they say, now it's good enough for them to let go. All that happens in a 5-second window. All that. It's that fast. It's that fast. But they know everything. They know when to, and accidents happen when they don't follow the rules. But again, we're deviating a lot from the question. It's very safe, very, very safe. So I know that you can. It's like when they tell you just be happy. Well, it's not that simple. Just lose your fear. It's not that simple. But trust me, if it was that dangerous, it wouldn't be legal. There wouldn't be schools teaching it. So I really recommend you to do it. Then the second you jump, you're like, I'm done for. I died. That's the first thing that comes to mind. Oh no, it's done. I jumped. And it takes you like 5 seconds to realize, oh, this is what it feels like. Oh my God, it's terrible. I cannot breathe. And then your body catches up with you and like, oh, wait a minute. I can open my mouth. Oh, I can breathe. Oh, guess what? It's not that bad. Do it, man. Seriously, do it. It lasts 5 seconds of terrible fears. And then you realize it's incredibly how can I say it? Impacting. But it only lasts 5 seconds, and then you enjoy it. And then you know the secret to this is when the higher off you take off. I mean, you jump from, the better it is. Because the less you can see the floor, the less you can associate how high off you are. I would rather jump from 10,000 feet than 1,000. Because from 1,000, I can see people in the floor. I'm like, oh my God. From 10,000, you only can see, patches of fields, like square fields and things like that, and lakes. So you really don't have a sense of how high you are. It's like you're just landing on a mat, a huge mat, like a huge painting. It's beautiful, actually. So you maybe you're imagining like when you're on the rooftop of a really tall building. It's not like that. The fear is not that bad because it doesn't look as impacting. It's really not that bad. So I'd really recommend you to try it. I promise you $100. You'll get on a plane and do it a second time. I guarantee that. $100, man. That's my bet. I'll put the money right here. Seriously, man.
Have you done it more than once? Then I take it.
No, I haven't. I jumped a month before the COVID thing, and so I haven't been able to go back. And it's they paid me to do it because it was part of a video, but it's also not that cheap. If I want to do it like often, it costs like $100 to $200 per jump, depending on where to do it. So it's not that cheap, you know. Plus, it's most times out of the city. You have to drive, and it's not that obtainable right now. But man, I really recommend it just as an added skill. And many times when you get into this plane, what eases it up is there's more people like you in the plane. If it was only you and the guy, oh my God, I'm freaking scared. But guess what? There's other 5 Michaels in that plane. And you all 5 go together to overcome your fear. And guess what? There's a 70-year-old Michael in front of you. But there's a 100-year-old Michael next to you. And there's a 300-pound Michael next to you. And you see a lot of Michaels, and everybody has a specific thing to overcome. Maybe it's personal, maybe it's financial. My tandem instructor, which is a really nice guy, he organizes tandem jumps for companies in which they make you jump when you start a job just to overcome a really harsh fear. And guess what? When you realize it's not that bad, you overcome anything. And trust, I'm not making this up. They do this like spiritual retirements for people in financial departments. They take them on a tandem trip tour, and they all go back to their jobs more focused. Oh yeah, man, I overcame something, and then they become more focused. They become more efficient, more productive for your company. So that's why companies pay for tandem trips. So trust me, it only lasts 5 seconds of fear. And it's a lifetime of memories, man. You don't have to do it more than once. Just do it once. Trust me.
I love how you're trying to talk me into it. I'll never commit to doing something on a podcast that's going to go out in a couple of months from now. So it's not going to work. But it's been really, really great to chat to you, Jan, as always. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Last question for you then.
For sure, man.
It is, if you were on a mountain and everyone had traveled to hear you speak. So we're talking hypothetical, right? So if you can picture it, you're on top of a mountain, someone gives you a microphone, everyone can hear you all around the world, different languages, you name it, it's automatically translated so they'll all get it, right? It'll be not algorithmically based, it will be
Mhm.
your intention behind be how they receive it, right?
Yeah.
And you've only got 2 minutes to say
Yeah.
what you want to say.
Mhm.
What would it be?
That's man. Every time I get on an interview, I find the next best question they've asked me. This has stopped everything else out. That's the best question that someone's ever asked me. Um, what I would say is, once you travel enough, you realize everybody's the same. Most people are the same. Sure, color changes and financial capabilities and societies and how open or closed-minded a country is, or your height or your race or your status. Those things change, but those things are minor. Everybody has to breathe. Everybody has to eat. Everybody needs company. And the basis of being a human, that's when you understand everybody does the same. Everybody in every country goes out with some coffee or tea or the equal in their culture and enjoy a good sunset. Everybody does the same. And I have a really good, uh, philosophical thing that somebody told me once. It's like, so you see the moon, right? What if I told you it's the same moon that Mozart was looking at 400 years ago? I'm sorry, 300 years ago. It's the same moon. He was looking at the same moon. It's the same moon Christopher Columbus was looking at. It's the same moon the Vikings were looking at. It's the same moon the dinosaurs were looking at when they were looking up the sky. It's the same moon. From everything ever changing in the universe, the sky is the one and only thing that is ever consistent. Unless a meteor comes and crashes into the moon and changes everything. We're gonna die anyways. But my point is, it's nice to have this degree of knowing, oh, maybe they wiped off this country or this forest and now they built a really nice condo apartment complex. At least the moon is the same as a million years ago, as 4 billion years ago. It's the same moon. So it's nice to sometimes just know that, you know, you're in a very foreign country and like, man, everything is so different. But at least it's the same moon I'm looking from home. Maybe my dad is looking at the moon at the same time that I am, but from the other side of the world. Um, that's just one thing. You realize many things are exactly the same. People like the moon. People like sunsets. And back to my point is, when you get that sense and you realize that we're not that different from each other, you don't understand anymore the point of war and violence and greed and politics. And man, these people are just the same as us. They just had it a little tougher. They just have a little different, but they're the same. Or maybe these people eat with their hands, and there's nothing wrong with that if you get used to it. And that's maybe they go to your country and you use a knife and a fork, and I'm like, why would you use that if you have your hands? And you apply the logic invertedly, and you both question each other, like kind of like the new world meets old world, and they question each other and they smell each other like, why do you do that? Why, like, things like that. And you realize it's not that different anymore. 600 years ago, you go from London to the Aboriginal states in Australia, I guarantee it's going to be very different. But nowadays it isn't. Even nowadays, because at the end of the day, we still enjoy the same. We enjoy nature, which is the most consistent thing. We enjoy a good laugh. We enjoy good company. We enjoy good food, whether it's vegan or meat or whatever it is you like. But you said 2 minutes, man. I'm stealing the show for 3 minutes in the entire world. But what I would say is, once you travel the world and you step on that mountain and you see that everything is the same, you kind of let go a little of that pressure of needing to overcome everything and having all the money in the world. I need the best car of everything. I've met tons of people during my travels, literally millionaires, They don't have any material things. They'd rather spend their money on traveling. And they have an iPhone 7, they have a 30-year-old van converted. Maybe they have the financial capability to do whatever they want, but they're not wasting their time behind offices in New York or whatever. They know what they do. They have enough money. Thank God they're fortunate enough to do it. I wish I had that opportunity. And they do. And they know it. And they spend their life that way. They know they have all the money they could use in their entire lives, and now they dedicate their entire lives to shoot travel videos. That's not my case. I wish I was at that level. One day I'll be. But they do. And then you realize, man, this guy is humble as hell. He could be driving a different Ferrari every day for the rest of his life, yet he's here at this Buffalo Mountain with me, and we're eating $1 tuna cans together. That's when you realize travel connects people. And especially when you get on tours and you get to know the people in a tour because the bus is driving 5 hours straight somewhere, you end up talking to each other. And guess what? Most times you end up and realizing you got something in familiar with the other person. Maybe your cousin went to the same university in Amsterdam than the guy in front, and they know the same class and the same professor. Or maybe you both like the same football team. You don't know each other, but you both watch the same match, and you talk about the match, and you exchange business cards. And 5 years later, they end up visiting your country, and it's like one of those people you only see 3 times in your lifetime, and that's enough because you like each other a lot. Um, that's when you realize all these things. It's the world is not that big, even with the cultural differences. We're not that different. There's not too many things that change. And if more people traveled, if more people realized we don't have enough time to do everything, less people will be focusing on being greedy and more will be focusing on spending their time better. If more politicians, I think that this will be a fix to everything. If more politicians got to travel a little more, and they realized that their $100 million in bribes and blood money and everything they got is not enough money to spend in a lifetime of traveling, because their life is constrained by the amount of time that they have, not the amount of money they have. They would quit their jobs and use whatever hard-earned money or not well-earned money. They would just quit their jobs and start doing what they love. This quote by Alan Watts, he says, take money aside for a moment. You already have everything. What do you start doing now? That's a good question. Take money aside for a second. What do you start doing right now? If everybody started doing that, that would be, just a benefit. And if you're so good at it and you're so passionate, you're the best, you're still going to be making money from it. You're still going to make money. But just people put the value of money as weighing more than the value of time. And when you travel, you understand it's the other way. Yes, you need money to travel. Yes, it's an utopia to travel all the time. Even for me, even for travel influencers saying that they travel 365 days a year, that's not true, because you always have to go back home and you have to renew passports, you have to renew visas, you have to visit your family. Somebody died, you have to visit. It's illogical what they are selling. But if more people could commit to traveling more and seeing that if you divide the amount of countries in the world by the amount of time left you have in this world, you have to visit a specific country every so many amount of months. So that starting from that very moment, to be able to finish everything up before you die. And realize, man, every year of work is a year less of countries I could have visited, or mountains that I would have climbed, or beaches, or oceans, or sailing, or whatever activities you like doing. But when people realize, man, why would people want to start traveling when they're retired at 65, when their knees are not working anymore? Maybe a culture got destroyed, or the pyramid broke off and fell apart and it's not closed. Why wait? Right? You cannot buy that back. Not with all the money in the world. Look at the Notre Dame when it burned down. They can reconstruct it. It will never be the same as it was. No amount of money can buy that back. That's what would make people change. That would make people calm down focus more on their families, focus more on what they enjoy, saying, man, maybe I have enough money for the rest of my life. I'll just give it away from now on. I'll pass the torch and let somebody else take over so that they can also start their own dreams. Hey, maybe I have 5 businesses. I'll let go of one so that I have enough time of traveling, because it's inverse of the way. Maybe you have enough time. And instead of running 5 businesses, just run 3 and travel the rest of the time.
Yeah.
That's what I would tell people. Once you get to see everything, you realize you wasted time working in that restaurant. You wasted time working for that boss. And that boss was paying his own vacations. Or her on vacations, yeah.
But that is a fantastic way to finish off. Your Explorer on Instagram. I'm sure people can find you on other platforms as well. If you haven't, subscribe, make sure that you do. Leave a review if you love the show, and feel free to share the show. Tag Jan and myself on social media, telling us what you thought. As always, it's a pleasure, and I look forward to keeping in touch.
For sure, man. Absolutely. Thank you for having me.